Okay guys, we're going to give this a go. This is the Semi Beetle, which we're going to be tying at this year's event here in Glen Ellen, California. It's a pretty basic bug. It's a foam bug. Love it, leave it. I don't know, but a lot of people will, I don't know, sometimes have reservations about fishing foam. I like it. It's really durable. It's easy to use with as well. The hook we're going to be tying on today is the Tamco 900BL10. It's a wide gap book. It's wide gap hook, excuse me, fine wire. So it's going to fit the mouth of a bluegill really well. You could use something like this for trout. Thread we're going to be using today is the Alter thread. It's the 140. It's black. It's about a 3/0 thread. I like it because the thicker thread doesn't bite into the foam nearly as much. So anyway, I'm just going to go through. This is my first time through this, so hey, I don't know. It's a practice demo anyway, so we'll see how this works. We're going to start off, we're going to tie in our thread up here in the front. Attach that and snip off the excess. Get rid of that. Should be good. Now, anytime we're tying a fly with foam, we want to make sure that we're covering the hook shank. So I'm just going to take some traveling wraps back to the thread, back to the bend of the hook, just over where the barb would be. Now, this is a barbless hook, so there's no barb, but that's the position where a barb would normally be. That's just going to give us a good, strong base on the thread, just so stuff doesn't slip around. The first piece that we're going to tie in yeah, make sure that we don't do that in the actual finished video, is some crystal flash. So I've got 4 strands of black crystal flash. Gonna even up the tips just a little bit to make sure we have an even tying point. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie that right on the top. I'm gonna leave my strands out here about 2 hook lengths or so. I'm just gonna take one wrap, do kind of a pinch wrap, put that wrap on top, about 4 wraps forward, and then I'm going to fold that back, and I'm going to come back over the top, and I'm going to capture that. Once again, I'm going to return the thread so it's right over where the barb would be. I'm going to cut that so it is going to be 1 hook shank length in length. Boom, there it is, perfect. It's long, it's going to kick back there. Once again, we're going to be throwing this on a pond for some bluegills. So it's bright, flashy stuff. Bluegills are kind of silly for that. As well. So the next thing we're going to tie in is going to be kind of a hot spot. I'm going to advance my thread up to about midpoint on the hook shank. And what we're going to be using is this 1/4 strand glow bug yarn because it's really, really bright and it's easy. And I have a lot of it. So it's going to be a perfect thing. I'm just looking for a little splash of color on the back end of the fly to make it stand out. Now, once again, I'm going to come in and I'm going to capture that on the front with a loose wrap, tighten it down, 1, 2. And then to make sure I keep it centered, I'm going to hold it up and I'm going to wrap this back. I'm a mess. I'm going to wrap this back to the point, just where that tie-in point was. And then I'm going to wrap this forward just to keep everything down. Now, my fly is moving around. This is horrible. Really, really bad. I'm glad this is a test video as well. I've just got those butts tied down in a base lash. I haven't buried it in thread. There's no need to because we're going to cover that up. When I come in and I snip this, I'm going to snip this so it's about half of that length. So just a little pop like that. I just really want that little fluff of color centered on the top, and we should be good. Okay, so there, I've got the tail in, I've got my hot spot. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in my foam slip. Now, when I have my foam slip, this one's about 4 centimeters long. It's about the right size for a size 10 and still I've been giving you some length to work around with. I've trimmed the tip right now, so it's a little bit more of a point. That's a trick that I learned from Skip Morris with his videos. This really is almost a derivation of his Predator fly, with some modifications. Trimming the tip makes it a little bit easier to capture that. So what I've done is I'm just slightly forward of that tie-in point. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. I'm going to capture that tip. Perfect. And then I'm going to wrap back to the point that I'm covering up all that thread that tied down the glow bug yarn. Now my first series of wraps, I'm not wrapping with a ton of tension. 2, 3, 4, about 5 wraps will do that. But they're loose wraps. I'm just trying to compress the foam a little bit. I'm going to come back forward, putting a little bit more tension on it now I've done the initial compression. Excellent. And I'm going to travel all the way back to the end one last time to finish lashing that down. The foam is sitting nicely on top. And then get it ready for the body material. And I'm going to tie that in toward the back. Now the body material for this, we're going to be using peacock herl. I love peacock herl. It's one of those little magical ingredients. It just looks awesome in the water as well. So I got 3 to 4 strands. If I have long strands, I'll do 3. If I have shorter strands like these, I might do 4. And I'm going to wrap that forward just to lash those butts down. And then come all the way back to here. Now, when I'm doing this, one of the things about peacock herl is fragile. It's a really, really fragile material. And all it takes is one like errant tooth from a fish, and all of a sudden you've busted your strand of peacock herl and your fly comes undone. And that's not a lot of fun unless you like, I don't know, tying a lot of flies for a fish. I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 4 strands and I'm going to start wrapping them clockwise around the thread. I'm going to pass them around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to get about 1 inch or so of material, and this should be fine. Now, the reason why I want to go clockwise, if I'm actually going to wrap this by hand, like this, what that clockwise wrap does is that continues to tighten the peacock herl around the thread, and it doesn't become unraveled. It's awesome. So we can see I've covered that whole tie-in point as well, and I still have the wraps around this because when I am wrapping the bobbin and the thread around the fly, I keep putting a 1/4 twist or a 1/2 twist into that. If I unwrap that, I'm going to come over the top once, move my bobbin cradle out of the way, don't need that. Twice, I don't know, 1 more just for fun. And then I'm going to trim off the butts. Now to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I keep my finger in between the peacock herl and the thread and just trim that off. If I do that, I never cut my thread. If you don't do that, then you're going to cut your thread, okay? But anyway, I've got the peacock herl laid down, and the next step of the fly that we have is I'm going to bring this foam forward over the top, and I'm going to hold it down with my fingertip, and I'm going to take 1 loose strap and then just kind of begin to compress and pull. Second wrap, a little bit more tension. Third wrap, more tension yet. And I'm slowly going to bind that foam down over the top. If I do that series of wraps where I start off with kind of a medium tension and then move to higher tension, it does a better job of compressing the foam gently and doesn't cut it. It's one of the problems with foam. If you're really aggressive with your foam and you just start taking hard wraps right off the bat, you'll actually cut your foam. And then you have to start over with your fly. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to like move this forward just a little bit, and I'm going to continue wrapping this down up to the point that I'm just behind the eye point of the hook, okay? And then I'm going to start wrapping back over the top because I'm going to create a little bit of a pad, okay, like that, a little bit of a gap. Because the material that we're going to need to have now is actually going to be some calf tail. Or if you don't have calf tail, we can use this hairline stuff, white calf body hair will work. I've been using calf tail a lot. It's really similar material. I think my calf tails are like someplace else. When you see this, you'll see that everything is going off. You want to start down here at this bottom corner and work your way up, kind of stand. But we're going to use that white calf tail as a wing to help give us a little bit more visibility on the fly. That's kind of one of the things that we'll look at if we're fishing this on a pond. We're going to have just a little bit of calf tail. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of that fluff at the bottom and get rid of that because I don't need those really short hairs. They're just going to get in the way and add a little bit of extra bulk. And in fact, You can see me, I'm just kind of knocking that back and forth, losing all those shorter fibers because I really just want the longer ones. Okay, this is where planning comes into great, because this would be really, really great to even hit that with a stacker and to even up the tips. But this is a demo fly. This is the first time through, so it'll be fine. I'm going to lay that over the top. It's coming just a little bit back, maybe just short of this hot spot. I'm going to hold that in place. I'm going to come over the top. I'm going to take 1, 2 wraps, and then I got to make sure I position this so it's right on top of the fly. Everything's coming back. This looks good. 1 more wrap. I'm going to lay my scissors in over the top, and then I'm going to trim off those butts so everything is nice and clean. Hopefully. All right, get rid of all the little stray stuff that's going to come back and haunt me a little bit later on. At this point, make sure everything's where I want it to be. You need to pull it back a little bit as well. And I'm going to cover up those butt sections, making sure everything's really tied in. Looks like I got a couple stray hairs over the top. Get rid of that. Okay, that looks nice and clean. This is perfect. Okay, so far so good. We got a ring into place. We got the hot spot. We got the shell back. It's good. Now I'm going to take my foam and I'm going to pull it back over the top and create something a little bit of a head. Okay, my hand's in the way. And because I'm all the way back, I'm going to take 1 wrap, 2 wraps. I'm going to slowly start tightening that down. Now you can take a look at this. I've got this cute little fold back head. I've got this foam slip over the top of my wing, and we're going to begin to see what this final fly looks like as well. The next step is I'm going to trim off that foam. I'm going to come down. I'm going to make sure that this is neat. I'm also going to make sure that I don't catch the tips of that calf tail as well. With this, little snip, boom. Okay, so now I've got this little short collar as well. It's got these wings here on the side that if you take a look at it, it's kind of flat as well. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to knock the corners off of that to give it a little bit of a round dish shape. A little bit, not a lot. If you have curved scissors, you could take care of this. But the fly as we're looking at right now is almost done. Take 1 more wrap just to make sure everything's in, it's locked in, it's looking good. The last step is going to be tying in some rubber legs. For the rubber legs, I use, where's my packet of this stuff? Awesome. This is some stuff that I picked up from the fly shop. This is the silicone legs. They're actually the skirts for spinnerbaits for bass lures that you'll see. Those, like I said, when you see those spinnerbaits that have like the silicone, all the stuff coming off the back, that's what those are, which is actually great because if you're looking for a bunch of really crazy colors, and if you go into just a normal like store that deals with bass fishing stuff, you'll be able to find a ton of different options. All right, so setting the leg, little bit of a trick to this. The one on the front side is really, really easy. I'm just going to lay this in. If I pull this up and I have 1 thread over the top, now I can kind of slide this around and I can get that leg positioned right where I want it. And I tend to like this so it's just underneath the foam that's been folded on back. That still lets me get a good flare. Okay? Now, the second leg is the one that takes a little bit more skill because that's the hard one. I'm going to take 1 more loose wrap just to help lock that in. For this pine leg, what I do is I take that thread and I take the leg and I wrap it around the thread and I kind of hold it up and I put it into place. And this is where I hit it with 1 more wrap to secure it. There it is, great. Okay, now I've got the thread that's kind of locking that in. Sorry, I just rocked the camera a second time. So this thing really, really sucks. As I'm looking at it, I'm going to come up over the top and I'm going to move these legs around just to make sure I've got everything positioned. I'm not going to pull too hard on it because if I do, it's going to, I don't know, shift around. But I got these legs. They're kind of drapey right now as well. Anytime I can put rubber legs on a fly, I'm a huge fan of this. They just move, they twitch, they make everything look alive. For a bluegill bug, oh my God. Like I said, bluegill are just crazy for these little rubber legs. But, you know, trout too. I've been known to put rubber legs on all types of things as well. So, all right, so I've got those tied in. We're good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull these back up out of the way, and I'm going to transfer the thread up to the eye of the hook. I'm going to make 1, 2, 3 wraps around the eye of the hook. Okay, just it helps protect everything. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a little bit of a whip finish. Now, I'm one of these guys, I don't use a whip finishing tool. I was taught to whip finish by hand because it's one less tool for me to do. So I'm going to get my thread and stuff out of the way. I've got this, and now I'm going to come around, swing underneath, split, one over the top, one over the bottom, third wrap around. Excellent. There it is. Make sure I don't catch a leg when I come in here and I snip this. Get rid of the thread. I don't know if I can see this. Come here. Get done. Nope. Why can I not snip the thread? I'm having issues with this today. Yay! Okay, good. All right, we're done except for a final little trimming. Well, if I look at this, I've got these big, long, goofy legs as well. I'm going to come in about that far and trim the first set of legs. I've been tying a lot of these, so I've kind of got a good idea about this. One of the ways you can do this is if you take this rubber leg and you flip it back into the bend of the hook, you can see kind of exactly where that is so that catches. That's the spot right there that we need to cut that off. So I'm actually going to do this formally. I'm going to give it a little snip and see where we're at. Yeah, look at that. So as I snip that, now that rubber leg's never going to get caught back behind. The front leg is going to be ever so slightly longer. Yay, look at that. I got some good legs. It's coming around. I got a hot spot. I got some flash. I got the peacock curl underneath. The last step that I'm going to need to do is I've got this big, large section of thread, which is just hanging loosely underneath there. And that's a vulnerable point. If I'm a fish, well, the fish isn't going to try to do this, but if I'm going to actually be fishing this as well, you could use head cement. In the tying class, we're actually going to use head cement. For me, I actually use this stuff. It's this Dry Ease, or this Bone Dry. It's one of the UV cements that cures. I really like this. Greg Senyo turned me onto this on his videos. He uses this for everything. I tried it and I like it. So I'm going to come in underneath, and just this section here, I'm just going to put just a little bit of a slather of that underneath, and I'm going to make sure that I don't glue the eye shut. This is like the key thing. If you glue the eye shut, you're going to have to clear it. So normal light, there's UV as well, but if you get these little flashlights, thank you, Jeff Dendy, for turning me on to this one. I like it. I hit this with a little bit of the UV light, and it cures this. And it just takes a couple seconds for that to cure up. And you can see it changes ever so slightly as well in color. And there, now what that is that's this little hot blob of cement, which protects all that thread, locks everything into place, and makes sure that your fly is not going to become unraveled. And there we go. So that's it. That's the semi-beetle that we're going to be tying in the class. It looks a lot like one of the Skip Morris's Predator Nymph, just without the eyes and the tail legs as well, and I'm actually okay with that. Actually, I was talking with Jeff this morning and realized that if I had put red Flashabou on the back, or Crystal Flash, this thing would look like a green-butt skunk, but for bluegill. So anyway, that's it. About 20 minutes. We should be good. Hopefully this works, and nice test.